So I don't know if Ellis knows if we've got any other officers going in.
Apologies. I'm just hot footed it from a public health meeting, so I'm not sure who is coming. Judith is giving apologies today, so but I'm assuming other officers will be joining us imminently. I'm not sure.
It's probably better then, I think, Leader, to make a start so that we start at the published time, and then if people can join as we go along.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Well, Prynawn da, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council's Cabinet meeting on Wednesday the 21st of April 2021. Please note, of course, that this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the local authority. Colleagues, can I take you straight to agenda item number 1 and just double check that we have no further apologies for absence?
None received, Chair.
Thank you. And secondly, agenda item number 2, are there any declarations of interest? No, I see none. Okay, in that case, we'll go straight on to the open session then into our strategic area, and that is agenda item number 3, which is to receive the Public Health Wales Act 2017 and consider a report of the Interim Deputy Chief Executive. And I understand that Councillor Tony Rogers is going to take this report for us.
Right, I'm ready. My re-debut. This is the Public Health Act, Public Health Wales Act 2017. Summary of the report: to inform Cabinet of the provisions of the Public Health Wales Act 2017 as they relate to the Council. The provision of the Act aim to address a number of specific and current public health concerns and to create social conditions that are conducive to good health where avoidable harms can be prevented. It deals with obesity, tobacco, nicotine products, and other special procedures. At 1.2, to obtain authorization for officers to enforce the provision of the Act. And also at 3, the Act aims to address a number of specific public health concerns. At 4.0, the next steps in order to comply with the statutory requirements set out in the Act and to ensure proper and effective enforcement of the legislation, Cabinet requires to delegate enforcement powers to officers. No financial implications except for possible officers' time. At 2.0, recommendations, and 2.1, you see the following council officers to enforce the provision of the Act, and I so move.
Thank you, Councillor Rogers. Do I have a seconder to that report?
Yes, I second that, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Geraint-Thomas. Colleagues, are there any questions in relation to this report? No? Okay. Are there any comments in relation to this report? No, okay, there are no comments. So in that case, I'll move straight to the vote, and just slightly differently to full council, I'll go straight into all those in favour of the recommendations. Then please raise your hand on the screen. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you ever so much. You can just take your hands down and I shall remind myself to do that as well. We move on to agenda item number 4 then, please. And that item is to look at repayable funding to support the regeneration of Merthyr Tydfil Town Centre and consider a report of the Interim Deputy Chief Executive again. Councillor Rogers, are you taking this report?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's me, Leader.
Oh, apologies, Councillor.
No,
you're like a
me.
double act now, you see. Councillor Rogers and Councillor Thomas, you're like a double act. So in this case, then, I shall go to your colleague, Councillor Geraint-Thomas. Thank you, Geraint.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Some real good news for the business community of Merthyr Tydfil, that we've got this loan funding coming through from Welsh Government, £1 million. That's going to help enhance some of the shops and bring them back into use in Merthyr Tydfil and Treharris town centres. So if I go through the summary of the report, Leader, In October 2020, the Deputy Minister for Housing and Local Government opened a call for applications for the Town Centre Loan Repayable Funding Scheme for local authority use. The core aims of the scheme are to reduce the number of vacant, underutilised and redundant sites and premises in town centres and to support the diversification of town centres. In January 2021, a loans programme application was submitted to the Welsh Government requesting a finance for businesses to access across both Merthyr Tydfil and Treharys town centres. It is anticipated that the loan finance will be targeted primarily at Merthyr Tydfil town centre, but would be available for businesses in Treharys should a robust business case be presented. Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council is currently delivering a Merthyr Tydfil business loan scheme, which is being funded through Welsh Government's Regeneration Department. An initial loans programme was approved in 2018. The loan programme was deemed a success, and in January 2020, a further request was made to Welsh Government to extend the loan programme in Merthyr Tydfil Town Centre. And in March 2020, an offer letter was issued for £1 million for the period of April 2020 to April 2025. The purpose of the request for the Town Centre Repayable Funding Scheme was identical to the current loan programme that Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council are delivering, with the exception that Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council would also be eligible to apply and use the loan for regeneration purposes to support the delivery of the master plan. In March 2021, an offer letter was issued to Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council by Welsh Government confirming that the council had secured £1 million to issue a repayable finance. If I go straight to recommendations in 2.1, the award of repayable funding for the regeneration of Merthyr Tydfil Town Centre is approved. I so move, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. And do I have a seconder to that report, please?
Second, Chair.
That's lovely. Thank you for that. Colleagues, any questions in relation to this report? No? Okay. Any observations in relation to this report? Councillor Chris Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Absolutely delighted to, have Cabinet receive another excellent report from our officers in the Regeneration Department. The continuation of this support this council has continued to provide to the businesses across the county borough during the COVID pandemic. This is another example, another piece of that jigsaw of continued financial support as we, work through the recovery and the reset, the resilience around COVID. Obviously, the business community having been significantly impacted by the COVID pandemic, but this is another piece of that really important regeneration for our town centres at Merthyr Tydfil and Treharys for support via loans to encourage business to get themselves back on their feet, to obviously provide the much needed services and support to to the residents of the county borough. The offer that we've got as part of our regeneration master plan that's in place for Merthyr Tydfil Town Centre and Treharys Town Centre. So just wanted to congratulate officers and obviously put on record my thanks for this much needed support and the loan scheme for businesses, which will be part of the recovery out of COVID. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Sorry,
Chair, if I speak next, I close the debate.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Councillor Barry has just indicated.
Of course, apologies. Councillor Andrew Barry.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just to sort of reiterate what Councillor Davis has said, really. I mean, this builds on the circa 40 million that this authority has supported the business community with over the last 12 months, a phenomenal achievement. And I think it was only a matter of time before we moved from grant to loan. And the loan scheme is quite timely, I think, just coming into the recovery phase. But I think it shows a commitment by this authority to ensuring that the businesses in this town have the very best chance of coming through this pandemic and begin to flourish out the other side. Excellent piece of work. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. So, Councillor Thomas, there aren't any other colleagues wishing to indicate that they want to speak. Just very briefly before you do, may I take this opportunity to say, you know, sometimes we get criticised for patting our colleagues on the back far too often, and by that I mean the officers of this council. But look, I've got no hesitation in doing that, because yet again, as other councillors have alluded to, you know, we've got this work in place, this funding in place to regenerate two very important parts of this local authority in this county borough as well. So I just want to echo all those comments already made for another fantastic piece of work. Councillor Gehring-Thomas.
Yes, Chair. Just wanted to say, by summing up, we've had two great meetings this week, one today and one Monday, and this shows there's a positive shoots of economic growth happening in Merthyr as we come out of lockdown. Hugh Roberts, our planning manager, said on Monday that he's got a record amount of planning applications coming into his department. And today we heard of another 44 businesses that's applying to start up business in Merthyr Tydfil. So it's all good news, and you know, and the public of Merthyr and the business of Merthyr can be assured that the regeneration team in this council will fully support them.
Lovely. Thank you, Councillor Thomas. OK, colleagues, nobody else, as I said, indicated to speak, and Councillor Thomas has closed that debate. So in that case, we'll go straight to the vote. Would all councillors in agreement with the recommendation please raise their hand on the screen?
Yes, that's carried, Leader.
Thank you. OK, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, and that is school meal prices 2021-22, to consider report of the Chief Officer of Education. And as I'm sitting in the chair, I understand that my colleague Councillor Chris Davis is going to take this report on my behalf.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair. And I am delighted, obviously, this being your portfolio and you being the Cabinet Member for Learning, in addition to being the leader, to take this report on your behalf. Obviously, this is a report in relation to the school meal prices for 2021-2022. Section 3 of the report obviously provides an introduction and background to this in terms of the typical service level agreement arrangements we have with schools. Obviously, the setting of the free school meal process, the full cost recovery of that, etc. Obviously, the price of meals, and obviously the process for that being set on an annual basis. Section 4, and Leader, you know, I will commend officers again. This is an excellent report, just really well set out, and you know, very you know, easy to follow and easy to understand. So that's real credit to Ferial and Anthony, the report authors in the schools department. You know, section 4 of the report talks about the current situation that we find ourselves in, kind of coming out of COVID, some of the challenges around that in terms of the provision of meals, you know, the provision of you know, finding appropriate providers for, you know, having a balanced, healthy, nutritious you know, diet for our pupils. I wanted to pull out particularly to draw to the attention of Cabinet members 4.5 of the report, which is obviously about the staggered approach to reintroducing the school meal service in primary schools during the second half of the spring term, with Foundation Phase pupils being provided for from the 1st of March and Key Stage 2 pupils with meals from the 15th of March. Section 5 of the report, which is obviously in specific relation to the school meal pricing. 5.1 of the report talks about the increase in numbers, a worrying figure really, of the EFSM free school meal pupils, obviously resulting from where we are with the current COVID pandemic in terms of people who've been furloughed, made redundant, now claiming benefits, being eligible. You know, the income for schools being increased from £230,000 to over 1.5 million, and the impact that will have obviously for setting next year's budget. That's quite significant for the schools department to factor in and figure, you know, as part of the planning, you know, for the future. 5.7 of the report then talks about the uncertainty regarding school meals, income, and the likely impact of that until food costs to provide a school meal are known, because they are currently an unknown quantity at present. And then to end really, Chair, with 5.10 of the report is obviously the proposal that during this period of uncertainty, really, that Cabinet is asked to consider the cost of meals remain at the current price, whilst to further review as part of this for the budget setting for 22-23 is considered, and the wider implications of this. Leader, this isn't an easy decision for Cabinet to take, but my view is this is the right decision. We must have an eye on the prudent financial management of this council, but and obviously on the council's inflationary policy that we've set and our direction of travel, and obviously about trying to keep that at pace. But I think for me and for us right now, whilst we reset for resilience and we come out of COVID, we need to be here to be supporting our communities. Food. I've been doing a huge amount of work, alongside Councillor Hughes and others across the county borough around affordable food solutions. Food planning for our communities in Merthyr Tydfil. This is absolutely the right thing to do. Now is not the time to look at inflationary prices, as the report indicates. So, I take you to the recommendations at 2.1 of the report. And subject to questions and comments, I move that the price rise on school meals for the financial year 21-22 be approved.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Do I have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Chair. And in second, I'll just take the opportunity to support what Councillor Davies has said. I think the public can be assured there's been robust challenge to this report. We do have to make difficult decisions, and we don't shy away from difficult decisions, particularly coming out of the pandemic. But I think on this occasion, it's absolutely the right decision, and I applaud the report. So I second, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Colleagues, any questions in relation to this report? Any observations? Oh, Councillor Geraint-Thomas.
Thank you, Leader. Just to support really Councillor Davies and Councillor Barry with their comments. It is a difficult time for families at the moment. Still is a lot of uncertainty there for people as far as furlough is concerned, and how long that's going to last for, if there's ever going to be extended, any future lockdowns. So I think this council is doing the right thing, proposing freezing the price of school meals going forward. And I just feel that coming into next year, obviously we'll reassess it again. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Councillor David Hughes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just like to say, I welcome this report. I welcome the recommendation of freezing school meal prices. As you know, it's been a difficult year for all peoples in Merthyr, and as a cabinet and as a administration, we have been there to support the people of Merthyr, and I think this is another way which we can help do that by keeping it the same price. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Okay, I can't see that anybody else has indicated that they wish to speak. So in that case, colleagues, I'll go straight to the vote. So can I ask that all those in favour of this report raise their hand?
That's carried, Leader.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you for that, colleagues. Okay, finally then I move on to agenda item number 6, and that is in relation to the payment of care home fees 2021-22 to receive or to consider a report of the Chief Officer of Social Services. And Councillor Chris Davies, I understand you're taking this report.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Cabinet members will be familiar with this because this is one of the reports we bring on a pretty annual basis in terms of the uplift of care home fees, obviously in respect of residential and nursing homes across the county borough. I'm not going to read, you'll be pleased to know, take us through line by line the summary of the report. I just wanted to pick out some of the key elements of that, and obviously that is to remind members of the judicial review process that Pembrokeshire obviously went through in the 2010-2011 financial year, which sets a context for ensuring that Merthyr Tydfil as a council get this right, and we learn from that. Obviously, the precursor to the judicial review was the Fulfilled Lives Supporting Communities Commissioning Framework and Guidance Good Practice from the Welsh Government, which has set, the bar of the expectations of the government to the good practice and the commissioning framework associated with the payment of care home fees. obviously, COVID has had an impact and a challenge for us around some of this, but that doesn't renege on our duties and legal responsibilities in ensuring the appropriate fees for the services that we commission and contract and engage around, meeting the needs of residents. The report talks about Rockhaven Healthcare, who, as the report indicates, have significant experience, who we've commissioned, to help us to develop a toolkit, which came out of one of the recommendations of the JR, ensuring that we are setting fees commensurate with the levels and requirements, and I think we've been pleased with what we've had in terms of the cost of care analysis in 1670, and we've kept at pace during that period, Leader, in terms of ensuring that the right fees for placements based on needs within the independent sector for residential nursing are set at the required level of funding. The cost of the fees requires an uplift, and obviously 1.7 of the recommendations talks about that inflationary uplift, which we feel is absolutely right and fit and proper and in line with the appropriate recommendations, good practice and commissioning framework as set by the Welsh Government. 1.8 of the report is to reassure members that the funding identified to ensure the appropriate uplifts for the residential and nursing fees is in our MTFP and is obviously in the 2021-22 budget for Social Services Directorate. So hopefully that's a useful overview of this and gives reassurance to Cabinet that the officers have ensured that all the necessary requirements to protect us and ensure the appropriate uplifts in line with the recommendations in our own toolkit as proposed by obviously Rockhaven are in place. So I'll take us to the recommendations contained in section 2 of the report and subject to questions and comments. The payment of the fees at 2.1 to the independent sector, residential and nursing service providers at the rate shown in Appendix 1 be approved, and 2.2, the backdating of the increase for the fees for 2021-2022 effective from the 1st of April be approved, and I so move, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Do I have a seconder, please?
I'd like to second, Chair, and in doing so, I'd like to point out the very similar to the last report, really, in terms of our inflationary policy. And what we're doing here is absolutely speaks to prudent financial management of our assets and our provision, and it keeps pace. What we can ensure is that inflationary increase. I mean, it was announced today inflation was running at 0.7%, which we have to keep pace with, because what we'll find in future years, as has happened to us on occasion before, is we have to have big price increases, and that's not fair on anybody, particularly the residents of this borough. So I think this is a great report. It's in line with our prudent financial management measures, and it talks to everything that this administration is about. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Colleagues, are there any questions in relation to this report? Are there any observations in relation to this report? No? Okay, in that case then we'll go straight to the vote. Would all councillors in agreement with the recommendations please raise their hand on the screen?
That's carried, Leader.
Thank you. Okay. And last but not least then is agenda item number 7, any other business deemed urgent by the Chair. I have Councillor Chris Davis. Is that a legacy hand? I just want to check there.
My apologies, Leader, it is.
That's all right, no problems. Keep my eye on the ball. As I said, agenda item number 7, any other business deemed urgent by the Chair. I have none, so all that remains is me to say diolch yn fawr, colleagues. Thank you very much, and I shall see you later in full council.
Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you all.
Diolch yn fawr.
Goodbye, all.